Another Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start your work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap and turn your fright light while we take you on a tour of terror. We are back here again. Just Dylan and I. No Adrian. He stood us up. We feel like we're just here on a date. It was supposed to be a trio. Now it's just a duo. A little heartbroken. No, well, he'll be back next week.
Ruins everything. No, what I am disappointed by in him though is that we didn't talk. Like he's just on vacation. Everybody's got a thing. He was gonna be on over his phone, but I was like, you know what? Enjoy yourself. Don't worry about it, because like that's always just a pain in the ass to run StreamYard over your phone. I've had to do it a couple of times for interviews for us, and it's like, oh, it's a nightmare. Never wants to work, always crashing on you, always overheating. What's going on, Necro? How you doing, my boy? Shudder to think. Shudder. Couldn't get it out.
You got there.
Penelope Courtney, what's happening? Gremlin, what's going on? And Mama Mayhem, what's up? Violet, of course. Thank you. Yes. Happy Sunday, weirdos. Awesome. Yeah, Freaky Tales. I've been hearing a lot about it. That was one we missed. I really want to circle back to it eventually. What's going on, Erica? Welcome. And also watch The Monkey. Thought it was good. Yeah, The Monkey's pretty good. Monkey's got some fun stuff. I like that one. Hey, what's going on, Helen? Welcome. We're glad that you're joining us for the live. Yeah, Stephanie, what's happening? What's going on? Yeah, this is it's been a really nice week channel wise, I have to say. I mean, like, not to make this all about growth and things like that for all the numbers and stuff, but I mean, I like to give you guys insight every once in a while. The channel did pretty good this week. We've been kind of struggling since getting banned. I guess just the algorithm doesn't necessarily favor our content, because that's kind of been like a smudge on our record, but like we've been slowly coming back. And honestly, this week, like I think you guys really like showed up for a couple of these new lists, and it's really motivating. It's really exciting. I mean, our weapons review did great. Like, I mean, we never expect like large scale like horror movies like that, when it's like, especially when we don't get like a screening to it or something. Like, we never expect those to do as well, because like 50 other people have reviews out. So it's like, when you're a smaller channel, which I still consider us smaller, you know, it's like you're competing in the same space as like your Stuckmans and your Jeremy Johns and everything, as to where like independent horror stuff, we might be one of 5 people who talks about it. So we usually have better luck with that. But yeah, you guys really showed up for that, and that was very motivating. I had a great chat with some weapon spoilers with our boy Jake on Friday for us. Just posted that this morning. I appreciate all the love and all of the insights everybody's been giving. Like I think Necro and I were going back and forth in Instagram DMs today, just talking about like the last line that Josh Brolin gives in that movie, trying to decipher what it was that he said, because it's like they came up with 3 options. All 3 of them are, it could really go either way. So it's one of those things where it's like, we got to just wait till a transcript hits, but it was fun. So
I'm honestly so glad that film is becoming such a talking point. It seems like it's going to have some staying power throughout the rest of the summer, probably even into fall. I talked about it in probably both the reviews, where I'm already eager to watch that film again. So I think it's going to fit right in with October viewing. So I think it's probably, you know, we go through these films where we see them in the theaters. There's a big talking point when they're in the theater, and then as soon as it cycles out and goes to streaming, then it gets to be another big talking point. So I'm totally ready to relive that again. It's, you know, like Bring Her Back was a fun one, and I think Weapons is going to be right up there. There's just so much narrative to really get through in that film, a lot of stuff to really enjoy. So I'm glad that, for the most part, it seems like a lot of people are enjoying themselves with Weapons. And we talked about that being maybe a little more digestible than Barbarian could be, just because it seems like more of a general audience film to an extent. But I think I could see a lot of people certainly rewatching this one a little bit more than Barbarian, just because it's not as heavy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one. My dad went and saw that one today. So like he was texting me. I haven't got back to him just yet, but it's one of those things where we were talking on the phone last night, I think, just going back and forth. He hadn't even seen it yet, but he was just like really excited because of all the stuff he was hearing and all the positive buzz and everything. So yeah, I'm happy it seems to be working with most people. Some people, yeah, obviously they're like, I don't see what the hype is all about, but hey, you're not going to satisfy everybody. And I'm just really happy with it because it was something I was really looking forward to. And it's always good when that pays off. And I think it also just cements Zach Crager for me. It's like, I know not everybody loved Barbarian, but I certainly did. And Weapons right up there with it. Very different kind of movie, though. And I think it just shows his range a little bit.
I think so. He feels like a guy that's going to be a mainstay in the horror space. So I'm certainly excited, especially for the versatility of both these films, even though we only have these two to really judge him by. They are completely different from each other. And they really tap into different DNA in the horror space, which is what I'm really excited about. Because, I love Talk to Me. I love Bring Her Back. And those films, they can be kind of comparable to sister films in a sense, I think, because of the subject matter. But I think they're both well done, but when you look at Zach Crager, he's going on two different ends of the spectrum here and really kind of stretching his wings and saying, I really want to just tell these really kinds of different stories. And I think I think Barbarian as well as Weapons really do showcase that. And I know we talked about him supposed to be doing Resident Evil, so I'm excited to see what he's going to bring there. I think I don't mind some of the Resident Evil films, but they've never really hit with me. So I'm excited to see his take on that and see what he's able to come up with.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff you can do with Resident Evil that just really hasn't been done yet. So I'm curious to see what his take is going to be on it. But I mean, it's kind of just, I think, stuck in that video game curse as well, where it's just kind of like we only get, pretty good video game adaptations every once in a while. So I don't know if we've really seen anything that's completely blown the doors off anything or has stuck around to. And everybody was really big on the first season of Last of Us, but season 2 seems like a lot of people just did not like the direction that story goes in. So very interesting.
And that's what oh, sorry. I just want to mention that's kind of what I'm a little bit excited for. I think, after looking at Weapons and the discussion out there, the bidding war for Weapons and how every studio wanted that film, and then it is producing the way that everyone was hoping it would produce, that maybe they'll have a little more creative leeway for Zach Crager going into Resident Evil and say, we have the concept, we have the ideas, but put your own creative stamp. You've proven yourself with 2 films. So because there is always that a little bit of stink when it comes to video game into film adaptations, and they never really fully hit. So I think maybe if they're going to let someone have a little more creative leeway than usual, I think Zach Crager's that guy. So if he makes this his own type of film in the Resident Evil universe, I think it could really hit.
I think so too. So I just hope that, again, fandoms can be overbearing. So we'll see how the Resident Evil fans take to his interpretations of things. Heretic was so good. We finally watched it last night. Yeah, Heretic's pretty solid. I definitely want to go back and see that one too. That was a late 2024.
Fantastic dialogue. The Monopoly scene, that is just so captivating. It's still, I just remember sitting in my seat thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone had come up with these comparisons, and the delivery from Hugh Grant. It's just that scene is probably one of my all-time favorites of that year.
Yeah, it's really good. I really do love the cat and mouse, like just dialogue they have back and forth. I really like Sophie Thatcher in that movie a lot too. And then Gremlin here, you're talking about Scarecrows. Yes, Scarecrows we're very familiar with. Those are the guys who help out. They do a lot of the VFX and everything for the Terrifier movies. And they also have a couple of their like locations and things have been reused for other films, like Screamboat and other things like that. So yeah, very tapped in there. Fuzz on the Lens and Scarecrows are kind of one and the same together. Very cool people. Let's see. Got some more stuff with Weapons. Don't want to mention it because they're spoilery. Absolutely. Thank you, Necro. We appreciate you doing that. But I am curious to see what else he's dug up. He's been doing a lot of digging on this one. Love your vids. The reaction clips are too funny. Well, thank you, Helen. Yeah, they're fun. Certainly they're tough to get through when you're watching them, because I don't try to just like go to scenes and like I've tried that and it just doesn't work. Doesn't feel as like authentic as just kind of like being caught off guard, because I think those are some of the best ones where it's like I obviously haven't watched the movie and I'm just completely blindsided by some craziness. And those ones, they're fun, but they take a lot out of you because it's just having to watch all those terrible movies. Ugh. It'll get you in a rough headspace. Thank you, Erica. We appreciate you there. Let's see here. Oh, and Gremlin says, I went to a convention, met Felissa Rose, Sheridan, John Abrams, and what does that say?
Lachlan
I got to
Monroe.
change. Lachlan Monroe. They are the nicest people I've ever met. Awesome. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, conventions are great. I didn't realize I changed the text too on the screen, so I might have to change that back. My friend doesn't like horror movies and liked weapons. Yeah, I think that you could get a lot of that with this movie. I feel like there's enough of like a mystery, kind of like the horror and the witchcraft. It's a big part of it. You know what I mean? But it's like it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to, give too much away. You know what I mean? You don't want to completely, throw out all your hand for everybody to see. So
yeah, I think the narrative there is so handled with care that it makes you ask so many questions throughout the film. And then, I mean, performance-wise, I mean, you can't help but be captivated. Certainly with Josh Brolin, I think his character is phenomenal in that. And then I think it can resonate just, being a parent and trying to find your child, just that kind of mystery to it. So I think it can be pleasing to a lot of fans. And like I said, a little more digestible than probably Barbarian just because it's not as heavy.
Yeah, that's it's definitely it's I don't even want to say it's an acquired taste. You know what I mean? It's got its own vibes, its own feels, but I think like for the most part I could see a lot more people siding with this movie rather than pushing it away. I think the fact that it like, feels complete, kind of like Sinners does, in the sense where it's like you finish that movie and you're like, okay, this feels good. It doesn't feel like they just left a bunch of stuff hanging in the air for us to, be like, oh, what does this mean? But not in like the good way where it's like, oh, it might have meant nothing,
It feels intentional where it's like,
Mhm.
we tell a story. What you need to know is what you get. It leaves you asking questions, but nothing that's going to necessarily leave you unfulfilled from a narrative perspective.
Understood. Yeah, I get it. I definitely, I think is one that will make people more happy than disappoint, hopefully. And then it's like Necro says, seems like he's going to bring a survivalistic horror aspect to Resident Evil, and it's his biggest budget yet. So okay, I'm definitely into that. I'm just curious to see what setting, where he's going to go off of. I know he said he's not doing like the games, but it's going to be in the spirit of the game. So it's almost like maybe like a new entry into it, kind of like how they're doing like Biohazard, and then what was the Village. They're kind of taking older elements from other sequels and kind of redoing them in their own new stories. Kind of fun stuff. And let's see here. Oh, I haven't watched Weapons yet, and I didn't finish Sinners before falling asleep. Love the disturbing stuff. Not huge on the supernatural though. Hey, that absolutely understandable. Everybody's kind of got their own taste when it comes to like what scares them, what interests them when it comes to horror. I mean, supernatural, honestly, I could say pretty confidently that was a very light genre for Luke and I before we started this channel. And now I feel like we've really turned a new leaf on supernatural stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, when you commit to watching certain subgenres that you've kind of stayed away from, I think, but not necessarily having an obligation, but wanting to cover all your bases and opening up your purview, I guess, in saying, okay, well, let me give this a try, and seeing the versatility of storytelling, like found footage, where it's like it didn't necessarily hit, but then you can see the versatility in some of the storytelling. I think that's great. And so it's some things. I think that's the beauty of having this channel is some things we never would have probably given the time of day if we didn't have to, or feel like we wanted to really cover for the channel. So it's really broadened our horizons, I think.
For better and for worse, yes.
That's true.
We've broadened our
That is
horizons. Love your show. How do you sleep with all the disturbing horror movies you watch? It's called I Have a 3-year-old, so everything else I consume on the outside of this horror stuff or just like the disturbing stuff, I'm pretty much watching Bluey and Camp Cretaceous. A lot of SpongeBob recently and a bunch of stuff like that. Peppa Pig's a big one. Yeah. So I get around, you know what I mean? Like I get my breaks per se. I end up watching a lot of that. It can be a pretty big extreme thing of whiplash though. I'm not going to lie. Like, cause like there will be times when like I'll call my wife. Like sometimes I've considered calling you middle of the day where it's like, I'm just spending a day editing, especially the last list, the disturbing scenes one, just having to go through that Serbian film scene. Just like and that's the whole front half of the video, and I spent so much time on it. I cut so much from the actual like YouTube version, and it's just one of those things where I'm just like, after getting that segment alone done, normally I'd get the bones out for every other one, but I was so drained. I was just like, I need to like call my wife. I need to like video chat with my son, because it's like it's just sitting in that headspace for so long is gross. And that's why I think the next couple of lists you're going to see from me are going to be a lot more niche, probably going to be a lot more fun stuff. I have some good topics I want to revisit, but I'm definitely going to be taking a break from the really disgusting, disturbing stuff for at least a list or two.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes mentally you need a break from some of that stuff when you're diving really deep into some of a lot of that disturbing content. I'm covering some French films right now that were pretty interesting from several different perspectives. And
yeah, sounds like that list is going to be quite a journey as well, where it's like you're going to have moments where it's like, because even with this last one, it's like, yeah, I'm talking about the Serbian film stuff, but then I get to talk about Headless, where it's like, you know, watching that one again, it's like, that's a goofy movie, but I love that it is a movie within a movie. So, you know, it's gross and it's over the top and it's extreme and it's disturbing, but it's one of those things where it's like, I can still disengage from the absolute disturbing stuff other than it just being gross, because it's like, okay, there's enough style here, there's enough fun here that I can at least disengage from it. But yeah, there's a couple on there, Luke, that I know, at least I know your list, and I'm sorry. So
yeah, well, you know, it's so weird because sometimes when you're covering disturbing content, it's like, okay, well, I have 5 films that are just pretty gross out, gory horror stuff. Yeah, this list just was like, there's one that's very heavy in the psychological elements to it, and then there's one that's just a gross out kind of more gore, and it kind of really covered a lot of bases in terms of across the board of disturbing. And those are the really weird lists to go through, where it's like, Dylan, I'm sure you do it, where it's when you're preparing a list and you're sometimes you have a day where you're just watching films back to back. And it's like, when it's just straight disturbing stuff, it's like, okay, I just sat through an hour and a half of this. Now I get to sit through another 2-hour film of gore and a handful of other things that I don't want to say right now.
Essay and all the good stuff. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, here we go again. We're back at it.
Matter. You know, that's the good one. That always works.
It's a great storytelling device.
It is. It's a lot of fun. But I seriously think, like, at the end of the day, it's kind of an abusive cycle, I would say, but it is a fun one where it's like, yeah, I go through that, but then the video comes out, and especially like seeing people's reactions on the Patreon to like the really like actually seeing the stuff that I don't censor, and getting to see my like stuff, like actually what I'm watching, it's can be pretty rough. And it's nice to see those reactions, but really it's awesome just to see everybody's reactions, and especially when it's just like, you know, people who get such a kick out of the reactions and out of the fun stuff and everything. But it's great. I really enjoyed you know, the reaction that everybody gives and all the conversations we have. It just makes it also worth it.
Yeah, putting yourself through the ringer. I mean, that's the beauty of the YouTube channel is, and I won't lie, like the list that I'm covering right now, I was able to pick out at least some interesting storytelling devices in each film. So, you know, sometimes you get so deep into the horror space, there's no redeeming quality to it. But when you get into it and you're like, okay, well, I see the intent here. Because even August Underground is a very rough watch. But then I was like, when you understand the director's intent behind it, I was like, well, he certainly did what he set out to do, you know? So it's like being able to take something like that, especially prior to really getting into that, I kind of just discarded a lot of disturbing horror just because I was like, it's shock value. But then there's an intrigue to it when you actually are able to pull out something where they're saying, oh, the director wanted to showcase this. And it's like, well, exactly. That's what I took out of this film. So yeah, disturbing certainly, but at least it had some sort of voice.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the next list I'm getting into is, they're movies that I actually really like. So it's like one of those things where it's like the next 2 will be movies that I'm like enjoy talking about, even though some of them are a little bit on the grosser, disturbing side, because that's going to be a lot of fun. But again, there are certain movies, like obviously Terrifier, when it comes to the blood, guts, and gore, I'm all for it. I'm ready for it. But yeah, it's like just stuff like Wedding Trough. it'll never get watchable. But then
Yeah,
I also want to shout out
that's certainly one.
Erica here, thank you for the $2, shouting out the stream, of course. Thank you, always coming in here and spreading the love. We appreciate it. Gory Tiger, what's up? What's going on? Eli, welcome. Let's see. Love the increase in the Patreon content as well. Keep it up. We'll level up on there as soon as more levels on there. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it's really, I think we're finally striking the balance of just not only getting that thing started and figuring out what we're going to do to it, but like I think like just now we're kind of getting into that rhythm of being able to release, at least I know I am, of unrated content and then content that just goes back up on the channel. This will be Luke's first endeavor into the unrated Patreon stuff. So like I'm excited for him to see that, because that was just eye-opening when you're uploading it and you don't get a bunch of like, you know, question marks and a bunch of other notices and stuff from YouTube saying, hey, we're going to ruin your whole life.
Even piecing things together right now and, you know, peek behind the curtain. I have like some of it set in a sequence right now and some footage, you know, overlaying what I'm talking about. It seems wrong that some of the stuff is in a sequence. Yeah, that it's like, you know, because we get into a rhythm of having to craftily edit around certain things and say, oh, we can't certainly put this in here or else we're going to get dinged for it. But then it's like, wait.
I would say that was the hardest part for me, was because before you'd go through and you would intentionally have an idea and a game plan. I'd have to sit down and kind of figure out mentally and write down kind of what the time codes were for certain clips and things I wanted to use. And then I'd have to already figure out, okay, I'm going to censor them and then drop them into my sequence. So that way it's like, you know, I don't just have a bunch of moving parts on top of each other. Now it's like you get to finish the whole video and then go back and censor it. So it's a little bit more work, but I think it's way more like satisfying and conducive. And also I can go a lot harder on the YouTube stuff because unfortunately I have to. There are certain times I'll upload it and it'll just be like, nope, your blurs are just quite not big enough. So whenever you see something that's like completely blurring the screen, that's because I've gone over it 2 or 3 times and I'm done with it. So
it's always a fun process, isn't it?
Yes, it's never a boring day. Let's see here. Yep, more love for the Patreon content. Thank you. Watched Wedding don't. Okay, she already did. So sorry. That movie will give you a headache just with the soundtrack and the noise. Was Serbian film the hardest one to watch? I'd say it's still one of the hardest ones. I think any number one out of this disturbing list, for the most part, most of them I would say would be harder than at least like Trauma and Atraz and a couple others that I would say definitely top a Serbian film. But like, yeah, there's some tough ones. I think like I've always said this, and I think I need to rectify it when I do the full 24 films list, is the Wedding Trough ranking. That probably should have been number one because it's real animal violence, but also it's like I don't want to like give it the credit of being my number one because it's fucking disturbing and disgusting. So yeah, that's fun. I love creepy haunted house movies. The Orphanage, The Changeling, 2 of my favorites. Yeah, The Changeling is one that I came to really late in the game, but that is a really good movie. I like that one a lot.
I love The Orphanage. I think that one is beautifully constructed, and it's got that sense of eeriness to it, I think.
Oh yeah. What's going on? Dark Rooms. What's happening? Let's see here. I saw him say something here. Oh yeah, he saw Basket Case finally. That's a great one. The sequels aren't bad either on that one. Have you seen that one, Luke?
Basket Case. Yes, I have.
The one where the twin.
Yep, I've seen. How many are there? There are 4.
I want to say there's 3. I think there's 3.
I know I've seen the second one. I think maybe I've seen some of 3. That first one, it was such a wild concept. I think I watched Basket Case like after oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the name? Malignant. And I was like, I just wanted to consume some.
That's a perfect follow-up.
Yep. I went down that rabbit hole of like just some wild, wacky horror, and I watched it shortly after that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a phenomenal film.
Yeah, it's certainly one that it definitely feels of its time. It doesn't feel like it's ever, you know, like it's one of those ones where you put it on and you just feel transport, a lot like Maniac. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's because there's that authenticity of them, obviously not shooting with permits, just shooting them walking through the streets of New York or wherever they were shooting it. And, it just feels very Taxi Driver, very Maniac, like just from the cinematography on that one. Seen any good B-level zombie flicks lately other than 28 years? Not a lot of zombie stuff. I just pulled this up to say,
Yeah,
like,
not lately.
there's like zombie adjacent stuff. Like, I would say I liked The Gorge. I thought that was pretty fun. And those are kind of zombies. The only one that's sticking out to my head is Parvlos from last year. That one, if you haven't seen it, it's what is that? Spain? Where did that one come from, Luke? Do
I
you
believe
remember?
so. I've only seen. Remember, that was one I only watched. Like, I didn't get a
Oh,
chance
that's
to finish
right.
it. So then you did. I think the review of that one.
No, that one's from Mexico. So yeah, that one is Mexico, and it's a pretty interesting tale. It starts off very dark, and then gets kind of goofy and splatter horror-y, and then it gets dark again. But it's certainly a film of its own. I definitely say seek that one out. Let's see here. Yes, no, I do not blame you, Violet. Skipping that. Good call. Let's see. What's good, lads? Your channel is fucking great, and you both are both very well versed in the words of horror. Happy to see your channel grow.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so
We
much, man.
appreciate
That's
it.
amazing. Let's see here. What's the intent on the August Underground trilogy? Recently watched all three in one day. Mistake. Yeah, that's a really bad way to spend a day, dude. Like, I can't. I was like happy to just watch that movie in and of itself, and we were still working at the time, like at our jobs, so it was like I think I probably waited until, like, I think the end of the week to watch my next disturbing one for that list, because it was just like that first film, especially, it gets really intense. And I hate to say this, but I totally agree with everybody that the second one is certainly even worse. There's a couple of scenes that I wouldn't say, I'd say for the most part, they're on par with each other. But if you've seen Mortem, there's a couple of sequences in there that go a little bit extra. And they just do a lot of the same shit that I already flinch and cringe at all the time. So,
Yeah, I haven't actually seen. What are there? 3 of them? Um,
yeah. Mhm.
I've only seen the first one, so I can't comment on Fred Vogel's intent on the follow-ups. That could just be for shock value in terms of trying to top, because yeah, I've heard the same thing where some of those are was it Mortem is worse,
Mhm.
is the worst.
Yeah.
But I know when I had done some research on the first August Underground, his intent there was to kind of, it's very unforgiving, obviously, if you've seen it, where it's so mentally exhausting, and our
It
characters
is.
as these killers have zero redeeming qualities. It's nothing we resonate with. It's nothing where you can kind of see the method behind the madness or anything. They're just doing it to do it, and the intent behind it was, you equate it to conversations people have of, you know, um, let's see, Jeffrey Dahmer was my favorite serial killer, and it's like, well, he's a serial killer. You shouldn't have a favorite serial killer because these are bad things that they've done. So he wanted to present these serial killers in an authentic way for you to not resonate with these characters and say, oh my gosh, these are bad people. That was the intent behind it. You want to feel mentally exhausted. It's like Billy Loomis, where it's like, oh, he's a good looking guy. Maybe I can turn him, or that type of thing, where it's like, well, no, we have fun with it in the horror space, certainly, but he wanted to express that idea that these are bad people, and you certainly do feel that exhaustion and kind of hatred for these characters. There's nothing where you can say, oh well, these are kind of fun serial killers, because hey, who doesn't love Patrick Bateman, right? But still, it's like that's what he wanted to present, and I think he does that effectively, certainly after you watch August Underground.
Yeah, definitely gets that across quite well. I've seen a couple of people in here mentioning some virus and zombie like adjacent films, like The Great Call with Pontypool. Definitely an interesting one. The Sadness is one that I actually was going to revisit for a list coming up, but I took it off. Just I feel like it's a little too soon. But that's one that I keep finding excuses to talk about because it's just so polarizing and in your face with everything. Then Gracie brought up here, have you seen Strange Harvest? I saw it last night in a couple of scenes, got under my skin. Don't know about the AI stuff, but apparently they removed it. Yeah, we actually saw Strange Harvest at last year's Fantastic Fest. That was kind of like a prerequisite in a sense for us to get into a potential drawing to get a Terrifier screener, and it all worked out for us, because not only did we get the Terrifier 3 screener, but the movie Strange Harvest is awesome. It's really good. I would say it's definitely one of those mockumentary found footage films that, like Gracie said, there are parts that will get under your skin, but I really love the method in which they decide to shift and move their story, because you think it's going in one complete direction. You think you understand exactly what the kind of movie you're watching, and it starts layering in these little details that it's like, this is much bigger than I think we ever could have anticipated. And sometimes movies do that really well, and as we'll talk later, some movies don't do that very well. But
that is true.
It is what it is.
Now, Strange Harvest was a very welcome surprise. I didn't really have. I think we see the serial killer mask, and it definitely looked off-putting, but I didn't really have high hopes going into that film at all. I'm not familiar with the AI controversy. Was there AI controversy in that?
I don't know. That's the first I've heard about that one.
Yeah. Obviously, we got to it very early, so there was no controversy at the time. No one mentioned anything when we had seen it in the festival. So I was completely oblivious to that until just right now. But it was a really enjoyable film. The leeches, I'll just say that was a wild scene. So methodical in certain elements there, and just kind of it sits with you in some of the scenes that they're able to compose and think, oh man, they really thought this one through. And it does take a turn in what they do give us. I wasn't expecting that either, but very, very enjoyable ride.
Yeah, was that is it the Happy Face Killer, or what is his name?
Yeah,
Mr. Shiny.
Mr. Shiny, that's what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's that's one of those movies for me that, like, I loved the way they presented that, and the mask and everything, where it's just subtle enough, but it's just like uncanny enough to be its own thing. I think it's super fun. Definitely one that I'm excited to see again. I know it's supposed to be coming to VOD shortly, because I know they're only doing a small theatrical release for that one, so that'll be one I'm hoping a streaming service will pick up soon so I can watch it.
Yeah, I know. Yes. Especially if that one hits streaming, I think a lot of people are gonna, find that one and be pleasantly surprised by it.
Erica watched Until Dawn last night. Not really a fan of it. Yeah, it was disappointing. It definitely wasn't what I was hoping for. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, but it's not it didn't live up to its full potential.
Yeah, that's what that was a film that had so much potential around it that it just never fully got there. Unfortunately, it left you wanting more in a bad way, because it was like, oh well, they could do this or they could do that, and it's just like, meh. It was I don't want to say safe play, but they didn't really push the boundaries, I don't think, in the way that they could have.
Oh yeah, and still want to see Clown in the Cornfield. That was another one I was really looking forward to. It I just don't know if, and I don't know if that's the okay, all I can say is that I don't know if that was like the story's issue from like the adaptation, like the book itself, or if it was one of those things where it's like, okay, they just didn't go in the direction that they probably should have, or they deviated from the novel. I've never finished the book, so I don't know, but like to me, it seems like that one, it felt kind of soulless a little bit. I hate to say.
Yeah, it felt like I don't know, the kind of twist or whatever you want to say just didn't hit for me, especially. I never went back and revisited that first book. I did get halfway through it, and some of the most interesting stuff was at the very beginning, which they totally had taken out. So I don't know. I don't know if they're planning on doing another one. I know we were we were not overly excited about it, but it seemed like a lot of people were pretty positive.
Yeah, I mean, we got Bit Flipper here says that they just saw it and they thought it was better than they expected. So yeah. I think it's definitely got an audience that it's going to market itself to. So
certainly, it's not like offensively bad or anything. Just a little underwhelming in terms of what I thought they were going to present, or what what it looked like they were going to present, and it just didn't really have the tension that I was hoping it would.
Yeah, and I agree with this for Until Dawn. Yes, the gore was pretty good and cool, but like Yeah, it's that writing was so bad, which sucks because it's like I do really like David F. Sandberg, so
Yeah.
that's like the first real like true miss because I didn't see the second Shazam yet, so I can't comment on it. But that was the first true real big miss for me. Apparently, at early screenings, the family photos were AI. The director said on Reddit he was rushing to make the festival deadline, but he replaced them for the wide release. Oh, okay, then yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I think the fact that they're, it's having the, ability to come out, put that first and foremost, and then say, hey, we're gonna fix this. That's definitely the best way to do it. Let's see. I didn't mind Clown in the Cornfield. It won't be one I absolutely watch again. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. That's one that like I would totally be fine with. My niece and nephew probably in another year or two. I'd be fine with them watching that as like an entry gateway horror film, like a gateway slasher movie, because it's like it's got enough gore to be a little bit more hardcore than what they're used to, and it's got enough, like an easy enough story to follow that I don't think they'd get lost or anything, or nothing's too over their head.
Yeah.
There's a town, it's evil, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I don't think it builds that level of terror that would, linger with a younger kid either, just because it can all be explained, so it doesn't really kind of keep you up at night, I don't think. But in terms of its quality, where it's not a bad film, we certainly consume some films that are like, what? I just had to sit here for an hour and a half, man, but like Clown and Cornfield was like, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
adequate enough where I'm not going to be mad that I sat there for whatever the runtime for it was, but I think it's a film that's easily filed away in your head and honestly forgotten you'd watch until you're perusing Shudder and say, "Oh yeah, Clown in the Cornfield. That's something that happened to me a couple days ago."
Absolutely. All righty. Well, I think I'm gonna take charge on this one. I'm not gonna give you an option, Luke. I'm sorry, but before we dive into Hell House this week, why don't we tackle some of the news, since we have actually quite a few stories we wanted to touch on tonight. There's been some big announcements. Nothing that I think we're gonna get like a ton of elongated conversation out of, but a lot of stuff that has been announced, some stuff that's come forward, and of course our first look at a few different things that are really exciting and just on the horizon of the horror stuff here. So let's take a look. Luke, I will give you the option to pick the story we start with. So what would you like to go first with?
Well, since Final Destination is advertised, why don't we deliver on that one before we do anything else?
Yeah, that one, I'd like to say that was a surprise. That was certainly not. That it makes sense. I mean, as much as we've been, shouting at the screens to be like, hey, just pump the brakes. It's doing great. It's made some money for you. A lot of people were happy with it. But like, just come back when you have an idea for the franchise. Don't just like, full send into another sequel and then completely fall back in line to just like the standard, stuff we were getting with like Final Destination 4. Like, that's my biggest concern. But I think that at the end of the day, I knew this was going to happen just because of how well this one was received and how much money it was making at the box office. So I can't hate it. I'll certainly be there. I'll be excited for this one. Definitely more excited, but I will still go in. I think a bit more reserved, just because I don't know if lightning's going to strike twice on this one.
Yeah, certainly not a surprise that this one is getting announced. I figured shortly after the success of Bloodlines that we were going to get this. I'm surprised we made it out of the month of July before we got an announcement that we were going to be seeing a 7th installment. I don't know. I'm a little sour on it, I think, right now. Of course, we'll go see it, but I really do feel like they're falling back into, well, it was Bloodlines was a success. We've got to keep Final Destination out there in the forefront so people don't forget about the franchise. And I feel like we could easily fall back into what we've seen in terms of just another random horror installments. And I see that Laurie Evans Taylor is back. She did co-write with Guy Busick in Bloodlines, which doesn't really give me as much confidence as I think it should, just because unfortunately, I did the video on Bloodlines, and Guy Busick does have a bigger filmography in terms of things that he's written and kind of can really showcase the elements that he brings to the table. Laurie Evans Taylor didn't have as much, but not saying that she's a bad writer at all. It's just we can't really. It doesn't give me confidence to say I don't know what the dynamic was between the two and who came up with what. But then knowing that John Watts had come in with the pitch of Bloodlines, and that's what they worked off of, where it was something that they workshopped and were like, okay, this is a tangible idea, so let's kind of mold this and bring something different to the table. We don't have that, at least that we know of here.
Actually, they at least mentioned that John Watts is attached as a producer again this time.
Correct. Yeah, I do see that, but I'm saying more so, did John Watts have another idea in his back pocket? We never heard that idea. There was an interesting one when I had done the Bloodlines research that there was an idea that was tossed around about one of the characters, things taking place like in a sperm bank. And I thought that would have been a fun kind of like another branch off. I know we've kind of committed to what happened in Bloodlines, so we can't really go that route with it, but I think that would have been a lot of fun to be like, oh, wait, there's other characters out there that we're going to touch on. But, I'm open to it. I just don't have that much confidence. I feel like we're going to fall right back into what we were worried we were going to see.
And, I think that like maybe it's okay because obviously we have done this. If any of you have been around for a while, we have done this a lot where we have put our foot in our mouth and we have put the cart before the horse with certain franchises, and they've come out and surprised us. But like, I don't know. This one, I will, again, be very excited to see it. But I am just sitting here like, it feels like we're just falling back into the same old again. It's kind of like when obviously everybody loved everybody but Luke loved Saw X. And like, that was a good one. And it's like suddenly everybody was like, oh, we're getting a Saw movie out. And then obviously that all fell apart behind the scenes. But I know that's only slightly similar. But it's just one of those things where it's like, just take your time, guys. I mean, like Final Destination, this is the 6th movie that we just saw. Like, it's not going anywhere. Clearly, you can bring that name back every 4 or 5 years and people will show up to see it as long as you have something interesting to say. So that's all I hope. And I think that's where a lot of us should be. But at the same time, I'm not going to fault any diehard Final Destination fans who are like, Bloodlines fucking ruled. Let's get another one ASAP. Because like, I'd be in the same boat. Like, honestly, if I wasn't as jaded or cynical because of just like studio culture and everything.
Yeah, and and I'm not looking for anything profound story-wise. If it's a fun, digestible watch, then hey, great. I
think they just need to get us characters again because like the brothers in this one were so good. Obviously, that's like I think the reason why you and I like tout the first one as being this not just a classic that started a franchise, but an actual great classic horror film because of the characters. So it's like just 2 good characters.
Yeah, and in Bloodlines had so much going for it, from that idea from John Watts, from the character work, I think from the actors themselves, and I know Mama Mayhem just said, no Final Destination.
Shit, I didn't even consider it
without Tony Todd, and it's like,
fuck,
Bloodlines had that perfect moment that even if that film sucked, everyone's going to say
still a great moment.
Yeah, it's like that's going to be the epitome of the film. It was a bonus that film was great, as great as it is. And it was Tony Todd's send-off. So it's always going to be, I think, even if the 7th installment is a win in terms of, hey, at least it was fun, it's still going to have that missing piece to it because Tony Todd did such a great send-off.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Rune Lady here. Also, I wanted to shout out their comment here before. Sing Truck Full of Logs to the tune of Breaking the Law by Judas Priest whenever you see a log truck on the road. You're welcome. I did that as I was like reading that. I'm just like, that's perfect. I will never not do that. And then I love this one too. Save a bunch of sperm from a fire ? It's like, I don't know what it would be, but in my head, I just randomly pictured like it being way more subtle than that. Like it's a person sitting there, somebody is waiting, like maybe their boyfriend or something's getting like their sperm count checked or whatever. And like, she knows there's a massive fire that breaks out. And it all starts at this trash can. And she just comes clairvoyant, whatever, has her moment, runs over, grabs a cup of water out of like a fucking water cooler and then just dumps it on there. And that ends everything. It's like just real quick, real subtle, And then Death is just like, all right, now I gotta fucking kill you. This is why I can't rate these movies. This is why, because that was just a terrible idea. So
Hey, so what if like the hook here is that what if like I don't know, Eric had donated sperm and or I forgot he's not part of the family tree. Let's say Bobby, right?
Mhm.
So what happens there?
That open doors.
What does Death do? It's like we thought we've completed the circle, but it's like, wait a second, it's just kids he hasn't had yet, and he's gonna have them post-mortem. Like, how does that work?
Death is a crafty bastard. He'll figure it out, as we've seen. But I think that's certainly a fun one. I think that we could play with a lot of ideas involving sperm banks and stuff. So I could see why they'd want to go down that way. Night, Helen. Thank you for joining us. We'll hope you'll come back to another live in the future. Let's see here. Let's see. Death is coming for a grandfather who is on his deathbed. Once he passes, that unlocks the unknowns for Death's path. Okay. I could see that. That could be fun. Let's see. I love it. All right. And then let's see. There was another kind of big story. I will save mine. Luke, you go ahead again. What's another one we should pop to real quick?
Let's see here. What stories do we have on the docket? Sorry, I lost my page here. Let me find it.
Well, I know we had Final Destination. We have where did it go? I have mine here. It's we're very organized tonight, as you can tell, as always. I know we want to talk a little bit about Shelby Oaks. Then we have the Nightmare on Elm Street box set was another one. Anything stepping out other than that?
And then we have Tim. Let's do Shelby Oaks.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so obviously we talked a little bit about it because we got to see it before together, but now we've all gotten to see YouTube alum Chris Stuckman has finally released his first trailer for Shelby Oaks. This is a project I have backed. I got a Blu-ray coming, so my $75 is well spent, in my opinion. I'm excited to see it. And again, me being an unabashed fan of his channel, and then having the privilege, both Luke and I, to get to know Chris and actually like be pretty good friends with him. I mean, like we talk to him regularly at screenings and stuff, and it is what it is. So that's been a blessing. So I guess there's a slight bias maybe for us, but that being said, this is the same feeling I have with like the Filippo brothers, where it's like there's another person who grew up making YouTube content, whether it's reviews or short films or anything, and he's getting to live his fucking dream. He's doing it. Like that's what all of us want to do. So it's just kind of like that in and of itself has kept me optimistic and excited for this movie. And I gotta say, from the trailer, looks really high quality. Again, it looks like I'd say like just cinematography and presentation wise, it's right up there with Talk to Me as far as just like, wow, this is a YouTuber movie. That does not feel like a YouTuber movie.
And with the Filippo brothers doing what they're doing with Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, and what looks like Chris Stuckman's doing with Shelby Oaks, I hope we lose the YouTuber stigma as we get further down the line, and more YouTubers, get the opportunity to do a lot of filmmaking, because a lot of the reviewers just really want to make films. I know that's what our interest as well, and having Shelby Oaks come out was a lot of hesitation, I'll be honest, on my part, because it was like, I had heard about it, then, it was kind of like such a long time coming in terms of, we have to finish this and we have to finish that. And it feels like we have several dogs in this fight, being YouTube reviewers, him being from our area, having run-ins with him where it was like, okay, I would hate for a trailer to come out in this film and it looks absolutely awful, and then us having to come on here and be like, yeah, it doesn't look that great. But seeing the trailer, it has me sold. I'm excited for this one. It was something where I was like, okay, it became okay. I'm excited for this because it's Chris Stuckman, but now I'm just excited for this as a horror film. I think the trailer was really well done. I like that combination of that classic narrative style, and then we also have some found footage elements in there. Kind of gave me the way like Sinister goes in between with the home movies and stuff like that. It kind of gave me some of those vibes. So, I don't know what kind of tension it's going to bring. I think it had a handle on the trailer and kind of a great tone for what we are going to get in that film. I'm hoping that is what we're going to get in terms of how it's going to feel, because I think that trailer was edited perfectly and really did get me excited. So I'm excited to see what this is. And was October 3rd, maybe? I don't know.
October 3rd. And that's another thing I was going to say about that is like, I can sit here till the cows come home and just say, hey, oh my God, Necro, you just, you gave me such a little love boner there for that. That would be amazing. Like put the Filippo brothers, Stuckman. We'll get a couple other guys we can find, guys, gals, everybody we can kind of pull together some of these people who maybe don't have the biggest voices. Shit, I would even put like Skinnamarink, Kyle Edward Ball in there because he was YouTube videos before that. So it's like he's in the club as well. Robbie Banfitch was in there as well. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, you could pull so many of these people. And that honestly, like, I love what you were saying there about like the stigma of, YouTube kind of like YouTuber movies going away in a sense. Cause like that is kind of the thing I've been noticing online a lot with people. I've watched a few people review the trailer. I've seen just comments on the trailer itself in like, X and Facebook and stuff like that. And it seems like a lot more just like, I hate to sound pretentious, normies, people who aren't in the online space or on the, horror space in general are just kind of like, hey, milk and cereal. Perfect. Yes. It's like, I think that's starting to really melt away now. And I think it has to an extent, because there's a lot of fresh voices, a lot of people who are coming up, getting their shot at making movies. Now we got to understand we're growing up in an era where people have now lived their entire lives with YouTube being a thing, or at least predominantly most of their lives having YouTube. So it's like having that much power at your fingertips, being able to upload and share little short films with action figures all the way up to, I'm actually out here trying my best to make horror films. Like everybody's going to be coming from YouTube eventually.
Yeah, it's wild because YouTube is such a source, for better or worse, for a lot of information, for just that knowledge in general. I mean, you get to see creators actually grow up. You look at Chris Stuckman's old stuff and his background there and what those initial videos look like and to where he is today. And, when you consume so much media like this, it's not always like, hey, you're the oracle of the horror space or anything like that, but you do pick up some tricks that you can implement in your storytelling. And, I think that will translate over. And I don't think it's, any accident that the Filippo brothers are able to construct films the way they do. They've, been around for so long in terms of the storytelling and being able to perfect that craft, that I think we're just going to have more YouTubers go into the space, and it's going to have to kind of wash away that stigma and just say, yeah, they used to do horror reviews. They used to just do horror short films. It's just an accessible way, milk and cereal. Like that film
that broke a lot of barriers last summer.
And it was, everyone was talking about it. It didn't become just like, oh, it's a great YouTube, film. It was like, hey, this is a great film to check out. So it just becomes YouTube is the platform that these films come out on. And I think, as we grow here in the next 5 years, that we're going to see more prominent YouTubers make plays in the horror space or just filmmaking in general. The only critique that I had of this is that I thought the found footage aspects of Shelby Oaks were so well done, and this being from Neon, I really would have loved them. We know about their marketing campaigns. I would have loved them just release these little tidbits of found footage before we would have got a full trailer to be like, oh, what is this? And just kind of give us that anticipation, that build up before we got the trailer.
So I don't know if this is only open to backers then, but I was pretty certain because there's been like an ARG that's been going on for Shelby Oaks throughout the entire production. But since like I'm in the Discord, and I don't use Discord all that much, but I go in there whenever there are updates for that. So it's kind of like one of those things where there have been little things they've been leaking out and stuff, but I don't know if that's been to the public as much now that you mention it. And I think that is a missed opportunity. But also, I think I don't know if they want to keep doing the long legs formula for every single movie, because like it works really well. Obviously it worked really well for Weapons, but like I think we got to keep that kind of special. I'm working on a video talking about that topic exactly, because like that's something that I could see getting abused very heavily here.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to flip to another topic, but go ahead.
I was going to say, marketing never dies, and you
True.
want as much buzz around your film as you can. So, it's one of those things where to say, I think to say something like that would almost be like, well, maybe you don't want to release a trailer for the film and just let word of mouth, where it's like it kind of becomes, if you can think of a creative idea, run with it, because yeah, long legs didn't work for everybody, but the marketing was well done. Megan didn't work for everybody, but the marketing was well done on that. And it's like, no one wants to lose money on their film. So it's like, if you can find a creative way and it fits the tone of your film, I say go for it.
Yeah, I think definitely they got some fun stuff, so I'm surprised. Maybe they're waiting until they get to like September, October to really push some of that. But yeah, I think leading into the trailer would have been nice. But also when you have a name like Stuckman, who's already, pretty well known on the internet as a film critic, that like I think there's a lot of people who don't follow this space who know him and watch his stuff. So it's like maybe that was kind of what they're leaning on first. I don't know. I don't specialize in film marketing. I just critique it and talk about it 24/7. So, just whatever. It is what it is. Let's see. There was a couple of good comments here. Let me see. Yeah, Bit Flipper brought up, am I the only one looking forward to the new Toxic Avenger? What do y'all know that I don't know? We don't know anything. That movie is still coming out. It's coming out August 29th, I think. And I think, yeah, Gracie
very much
put that
looking
in there.
Forward to it.
Absolutely. I've only heard good things about it, and it's something we've actually been trying to get our hands on for a long time, because like we could have seen it, we tried to see it virtually for Fantastic Fest 2023, back when like Cody Leach and all those other influencers got to see it. And it's just been kind of in development hell and limbo, because I guess the studios that they've been pitching to and we're trying to get a release for just were like, oh, we don't know what to do. You're going to have to cut so much of this out because it's, I guess, just too gross and too, exploitation heavy and shocking. So they were like, yeah, this isn't going to work. But they did the right thing. They held to their guns and they went until they got to obviously Cineverse, and they cut them a nice check. And now we get to see this puppy unrated in theaters, which is going to be exciting. I'm still hoping maybe we can get an interview or a screener or something, at least with Macon Blair, because we've loved his stuff for a long time. A lot of his collaboration work with Jeremy Saulnier. So I'm hoping that it pans out and we got another spawning of some new Toxic Avenger films.
Absolutely. It's exciting. What Lionsgate had it originally. Was that correct? Is that am I remembering?
I think they were circling it, or they were people who, it was Legendary. Okay. That was who had it. Yeah.
And I remember the buzz on that film when it had come out at the festival, and we were excited about it. And then we just hadn't heard anything. And I remember it being kind of, oh wait, that still hasn't come out yet. And it was
yeah, for a lot of people.
Hell, and because we heard at that festival, it was just kind of, it was a very positive reception. So we are excited about it. And then finally, for us to be living in a time where Art the Clown was the catalyst in a lot of ways to create these Fathom events, these limited time engagements for us to go to the theater, check this stuff out unrated, gory as hell. And the way that the director and the creative behind it wanted you to see it, and I think that is the most exciting part here, where we're going to see it unforgiving, where this is what we wanted. This is our vision, and we get to go check that out. And I think, it's going to be so community heavy. I would love to see a screener, but that's also one of those films where I think you have to see it in the theater as well, whether, you get to see it early or not, just because the community surrounding it, everyone that's going to be there is there
going to be a fan.
See it. Yeah. And it's like, and that's what you get with a lot of the Terrifier franchise and a lot of the other things that we've had the pleasure of seeing. in the theater that are these limited
Oh
engagements.
yeah,
And
the
um,
Pooniverse stuff,
yeah,
all that's a lot of fun to go with a huge crowd.
so I'm certainly excited for it. The end of August can't get here if we don't get to see it any earlier than that. Man, this one has been highly anticipated for the both of us, and the trailer looked great. They have a great handle on the tone. I love that Peter Dinklage is playing Toxie. I think that was such a smart casting decision to really lean in the tone that they're going for, and it just looks awesome. So I'm really excited for
Yeah,
that one.
the costume looks incredible. I'm
Yes.
excited. I think it's perfect. I was worried they were going to do a bunch of major changes to his design and kind of go away from the bloated, kind of puffy nature of him, but I just love how that he's just got his big puffy eye and everything. It looks great. Oh yeah, Laura Copley brings up Dream Eater. Yes, I've been singing this movie's praises all summer long. I caught a whiff of this thanks to Chuck, your movie guy, on TikTok. Definitely go check him out. He's a friend of the channel. He got to see this thing like stupid early, and like I was so jealous because like I reached out to them, and honestly, they were like, okay, we can either send you guys, a screener right now and you can cover it, do whatever, that's fine. Or, and they were hinting towards like, we'd really like it if you could wait until we get closer to its actual release. So I said, you know what, you guys choose what you want to do. I'm excited either way. And they of course opted to hold on to it. So we're still waiting. I should send them a follow-up email now that it has a theatrical release date. And it's actually being put out by Eli Roth's company, so that's pretty good.
I love that he's started that production company. Was it the horror section? I think that is so exciting, especially as we were just talking about Shelby Oaks. I think this opens up the door for a lot of creatives that haven't been able to get in the game yet, can actually get in the game and start telling some horror stories. So my ears perked up certainly when Eli Roth announced that. So man, again, what a time. What a time to be living in the horror space.
Oh yeah. Any good twisted cryptid movies? I'm gonna go with Abominable. That was a sci-fi original movie back when sci-fi used to just acquire movies. So like Dog Soldiers, Abominable. That it's all practical effects. It's a great movie. I think that was one of the ones that very funny enough. It was Luke. I'm sure you went into that rather skeptical.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the that was one of the when we were doing the podcast. Was that the second or third podcast?
That was the second episode. Yeah. Werewolves and Swearwolves, and then that.
Yeah, I went in there really hesitant and enjoyed the smaller film. It's one of those. I remember Dylan and I talking after seeing Abominable, and I started pitching you a couple ideas for. I was like, I would love this and I'd love that in terms of the design. And I thought, the actual creature design itself is great, and there were just a couple of critiques that I had there. I was like, oh well, maybe they could do this or they could do that just to kind of establish some lore to it. But I really love the story there. It's way better than it has any right to be, for that time.
Yeah, it's Rear Window meets a Sasquatch. So yeah. if that's a nice little thing for you. Oh, Necro says Primal Rage. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a great one. Penelope brought up Frogman. That's another one I was going to bring up.
Frogman does fuck.
Yes, Frogman fucks. Yes. I wonder if we could still get t-shirts for that. I forgot that those were a thing. Damn. But yeah, this is definitely cryptids is one that I have a list made up for cryptids. I just haven't gotten around to recording it yet. I was kind of just hoping and waiting that we'd get some kind of major cryptid movie news, and then I could kind of coast. That's a great one, actually. Yeah, that's good. I think that's next year.
I think so,
supposedly. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. There's definitely some good cryptid films. Let's do maybe like one more of these stories, and then we'll kind of get into Hell House 2, the Abaddon Hotel review here. So I guess it's my turn to pick. I don't know, Luke, out of the last three, do you have a preference, a personal favorite?
Well, you want to talk about the Nightmare on Elm Street box.
I did. Yeah, I just don't want to shortchange any stories that you wanted to cover. But
no, I don't. I'm totally fine. Whatever we don't cover now, we can easily cover next week. I mean, hey, we're here every Sunday, guys. So
very true, very true. But we finally got not only a release date, but pre-orders launched very messily, I must add. What'd you do, Warner Brothers? Why you do us like this? For the Nightmare on Elm Street 4K 7 film collection. Yeah, this was this was something that I know has been a point of controversy. I know it's been something that's been on a lot of people's minds for a long time of what's happening with this. We had been getting a lot of rumors that directors of these in like later installments were coming back and actually like stepping into the edit bay to really go back to the original negative and clean everything up. They were supervising these edits. So when you hear stuff like that, that's usually a really good sign. And I was hesitant, not gonna lie, especially when I saw just like the promo box set that they were kind of throwing up there. It looked really bland and goofy to me, but there were so many fakes and so many things that were getting thrown around. I do gotta say, at the end of the day, I think the standard Blu-ray set is just meh. It is what it is. It's Freddy on the cover. It's red. It is what it is. I mean, it's nice to have them all, I guess. And if you don't already have the digital version, you get a digital code with it. But that steelbook set is gorgeous. I cannot lie. That steelbook set with the sweater as the outer box, like, man, if I had the funds to drop on that right now, I might have done it. But also, the availability was fucked. Apparently, a lot of people went there the second it dropped. I don't know if you heard about this, Luke, but the second it dropped, it's almost like it all got soaked up by bots or something. Because like people waited till the moment it went live, got in their carts, went to pay for it, and it's all gone. It's all sold out. It's like, what the fuck, dude? And it was for the steelbook version, the one that everybody wanted, of course.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really hear about the controversy. It was kind of I had heard of the release, and I was like, oh, I'll look at it eventually, and just never got around to it. But I know everyone's been clamoring for a Nightmare on Elm Street box sets in some fashion. So I see the one in red with Freddy on it there, which, yeah, like you said, is fine. Not bad at all. Just kind of pretty basic. We have, I think there's a couple pretty basic. I remember the Friday the 13th release before the big Scream Factory release, which was just like
when it was the 8 films.
Yes, and it was just a pretty basic release. But I remember I owned that one. I was just excited to have them. I think it came with the digital code, and I freaked out because I was like, I finally get to have them all digitally at that point. So I was excited for that. I mean, this one's fine. I think I own some of the Nightmare on Elm Street just from our past exploits. That's working at a used media store. But I think they might actually be standard definition. I'm not sure. But I'd be excited to own these on 4K, certainly digitally. Yeah, that steelbook box set, oh my gosh, looks beautiful.
I have the original Blu-ray set, the one that came out that like if you were, I got this in 2020. This thing was a pretty penny. This thing was like $80.
Yeah, that thing was hard to come by because it was like you didn't really have the big collection. I think that was the only collection that was out there in terms of Blu-ray. So it was either that or nothing. So that one was a little bit harder to come by, as a lot of the box sets were. I remember when that one Friday the 13th box set had come out that was out of print. I don't know if you remember that one. That one it was like
the steel case one.
Yeah. That one was a pretty big. I can't remember how much that thing was going for at the time, but then I remember that
600 at one point.
That thing just tanked, I think, as soon as they started announcing other things, obviously. But
I bought one that was incomplete, just because it didn't have the insert and the patch or whatever it was, or the wrap and the patch, and that cost me like $200, even at a used store with a discount. And then I traded it in the moment that I pre-ordered my other box set, just so I could get a little bit of store credit that was still valuable for it. Because by the time that box set hit, it was $60. $60 they were trying to sell that thing for, and it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah, especially how sought after that one was. I remember when that had come out, and kicking myself for not getting it at the time, but then and then just seeing it, I think, sitting on shelves at used media stores, which was such a surprise after wishing I could own it, and then just being like, now I can pass it up because I already have the Scream Factory. But I'll tell you, the steelbook there for Nightmare on Elm Street, that thing looks pristine.
I know the sweater was such a nice touch, and we're big whores for physical media. If you've been watching us, you know that. But like, I think that the burns in it, little bits of flesh there, and if you look like right above, I don't know if you caught that, Luke. If you go down to the last image there, if you look right above the logo, you can actually see his neck line.
Oh, yep, I
see Freddy's neck there.
Yeah,
very fun stuff. Very cool.
But I mean, do you think this just opens up the door? I mean, to get another release down the line in terms
I
of like, oh,
been
maybe,
saying that. I've been
yeah,
saying that on Beyond the Splatter Grave since this thing started like really making waves and surfacing. I know for a fact, and one thing you have to consider, I know nobody else really gives a shit about the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street film. Hell, I don't. I probably wouldn't even watch it if they gave me a 4K copy of it. But you know what? Like, I'm a completionist at heart. And I'm just going to say, I think that we were getting teased and we were getting stuff that I don't necessarily think was debunked, but it was canceled like back in 2021 for a Scream Factory Nightmare on Elm Street set. And I remember that, I guess, being confirmed that it was legit, but they had to stop production on it. So I think there is a real solid chance that we'll be getting a Scream Factory release of it. Because I think the thing with that one was it was going to be just like the Friday the 13th. It was going to be Blu-ray. And then Warner Brothers and everybody who was working behind this new line was like, hey, we're going to upgrade these to 4K. Because that's really what we've been waiting on. Like I said, they've been pulling all these directors in over the last 2 years, just having them come in and clean up these cuts. So it's a real restoration. It's not just, hey, we're upscaling the Blu-rays and throwing them onto a box, you know?
yeah. And when you take that much time to redo everything like they're doing, you're not just going to have one release of this at all. So, you know, even if I had the funds for this at the moment and there was availability for it, I'm not sure what the price point was on that steelbook.
To something, it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. I think it's right. I think it's slightly higher than the Friday the 13th one was, but again, it's 4K and steelbook, so I think
Yeah.
you get a little bit of wiggle room there. But I agree with you. I think 180, that's the optimal price point for these kinds of movies.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I would be hesitant to pull the trigger on this one, even if I could get it at this time, just because it would be in the back of my mind that there's going to be an even nicer release coming out. Because, like, that
The
Friday,
second you'd buy it, dude. It would
yep,
literally be the second you buy it, you'd have like 2 weeks, and then Scream Factory would be like, or Arrow, or somebody would be like, hey, by the way, boom, here you go, all of them 4K with a nice lithograph, and a fucking box that just is like all this custom art on it that's just beautiful. Like, it would happen. That's just
because,
how it always goes.
like, looking at that Friday 13th release, that one, I was like, okay, I'm fine. Even if another edition does come out, this one is nice enough that I can not feel any regret about owning this one and having it on my shelf, and I could probably pass up other releases of it. Whereas this one, yeah, it's nice. It looks great. I love the steelbook idea, but if another one comes out, I could easily see with nicer cover art and it is equivalent to what we have seen with Friday 13th. I know I'd be kicking myself and saying, I wish I would have waited, So I think we're going to see another release down the line, maybe even nicer than this one in terms of the art. So we'll see. This one opens up the doors. I'm excited that we're getting it,
Absolutely. Respect, Stephanie. Absolutely. Heart Friday the 13th. I thinking about that too, I actually stood my ground in a spot where you didn't, which was actually funny. That's very rare for us because usually I'm the impulsive buyer. But if I remember correctly, didn't you buy the first 3 Halloweens when they came to 4K?
Let's see.
Or was it
I
or was
have
it
no. I have 3. That's it.
just 3? Okay,
Yep.
because I was like, yeah, that was one I really wanted those. I really thought those are pretty. Those are really nice. And then even the lesser films, like the one that had Resurrection, H2O, and 6 or whatever, I was like, that's a really nice box set. I remember you almost got that for a heck of a deal when Walmart screwed that up one time, but they screwed you.
Yes, they did.
That was crappy. But
Bastards.
dude, like, it burned. It stung me not to like just get my own copy, especially of like the Halloween 3, Halloween 4 one, just because I love the art on those. But I was like, I know better than this. I know if they're releasing all of these as individuals, eventually we're gonna get a full-blown Halloween set, and I guarantee you they're just waiting for something to finalize with the David Gordon Green films. Once that like passes a certain date or something and they're allowed to produce it, like, I guarantee you that's going to be what Scream Factory does next, if not Nightmare on Elm Street. It's going to be one of those two that gets a huge box set 4K release.
Yeah, and I remember looking at the 4Ks for Halloween and saying, "Oh, those would be nice to own," but I have a compulsion to own anything Halloween 3. I have the steelbook and everything, so I had to get the 4K of the Halloween 3, which is absolutely
I
beautiful.
don't blame you. I don't know what like presence of mind I had on myself at that point to not do it. I think it was just out of principle of being like, I know they're gonna fucking do
Yeah,
this. But like, yeah, it's one of those things. I look at it now, and we're all these years post, like it's what 3 years since those came out,
yep,
and they're getting pretty pricey. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, fuck, dude, like I am kicking myself a bit because it's like I do love how, especially because 3 comes in that like thick, almost cardboardy
yeah, they all do, I
box
think, don't
outer
they?
shell. So yeah, it's
And
that's one
it
that,
would have been hard to pass up if they would have all came together in a big set that you can put them in with some nice artwork. But it was just kind of
mhm.
like the basics of the 4K, and I was like, it's not gonna look as nice. So I was like, oh, let me just get the Halloween 3 and we'll call it a
Yeah,
day there.
I've seen people take the Myers house, like they make one,
Yeah.
and then they put all their 4Ks in there, and it does look beautiful.
Yeah, if
It
that
is
would
one
have
of those
come
things.
as an official release, I would have easily bought it
Oh
because it
yeah,
looks
like that.
gorgeous.
That's one. It's like, I gotta go dig up my buried treasure in my backyard, my emergency fund, and start flinging it at Shout Factory, Scream Factory. They've already gotten so much of my money. Which Halloween had Paul Rudd in it? That one was the best. Part 6. Part 6. There you go.
I
Yes,
have a
I did
soft
see
spot
this,
for that one.
Stephanie. The I didn't even send you a picture of this, but Walmart has Friday the 13th onesies, Luke.
Oh my gosh.
Adult onesies. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop up there. I'm gonna wear one
Yep.
of the Sunday Scaries.
Nightmare Files, what's happening? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for popping in. We're just wrapping up our segment of the news here. We're about to hop into the second chapter of the Hell House series. Yes, following up from last week where we talked about the very first film, House LLC. Certainly, in my opinion, and very happily to have joined the Hell House cult. We have Luke here who just got to really experience these films recently. So, you know, talking about that first film, all of it's really simplistic, really very takes its time to be scary. It's not sitting there trying to just get you a jump scare. It's like it has them, but every good horror movie does. But this one really did a good job of getting under your skin. So I got to say, when I was going into Hell House 2, when I first watched these movies, I had nothing but positivity on the mind. I love the first one so much, and everybody has done nothing but talk up this trilogy. And I gotta say, I like parts of this movie, but there are some major cracks that start to form rather quickly in this sequel. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yes. I'll say when we were here last week, I said, I'd watched about 10, 15 minutes of part 2 and had just had a trouble really finding myself engaged with the film. I didn't like the setup of them in the newsroom studio, of them all discussing different parts of the Abaddon Hotel. And I don't know. I went through, finally gave this one a watch. Actually, right after the Sunday Scaries last week,
Last week,
and I'll tell you, it still did not hit. There's not much that I like about this film, to be honest. I think it had a couple of okay scares, but even then, I don't know. It just felt like they were reaching a lot of the time.
I think the scares, there's some good scares in this movie. There's some really impactful scenes when it comes to mostly, again, how they use the setting and everything, and how they kind of, you know, weave all of their characters. Because I think that's one of the big problems they did. Like, they really, I feel like we have so many more characters in this one. Am I wrong? I'm like 99% sure there's like a ton of extra people that show up halfway through this movie. Or am I getting the third one confused? I might be getting the third one confused.
I
These ones
don't.
are a little bit of a blur for
Yeah, it
me.
didn't strike me as an overabundance of characters. What we have, I think we have 3 people going in, and then another lady does join them. Oh no, we do have and then we have the other paranormal. So we do have a
Yeah,
handful of
that's
characters.
okay. So yeah, we start to get okay. spoiler, Luke, there are more who join in the third one then. But yeah, it does get a little bit hard to track everybody, I feel like, because again, I think they go with the standard sequel approach of, okay, the first one really worked out for us. We need to go bigger. We need to get bigger. And it's just like, no. It's I think the beauty of it is just the simplicity. And I feel like when they saw like how positively everybody received that first film. And again, my biggest issue was once they start getting all these guys in the cult who are running through with their robes on, and it just feels a little out of the box of groundedness that we were in for so long, that like we really start doubling down and almost tripling down in this movie on a lot of that big picture stuff. And I just have a hard time seeing it like for anything more than just, okay, we got to make this bigger because now we have a budget and we have fans. And it's like, I just hate when sequels do that, because like it can really come off as disingenuous. And unfortunately, I don't think this one is as disingenuous as the third, but I think like this is really where it just feels like, okay, we are spinning our wheels a bit. And I hate to say that because I know there's a lot of defenders of this movie who really enjoy it.
And, I think the beauty of the first one for me was I was able to just kind of live in the moment and really focus on the scares, focus on, getting those breadcrumbs of trying to understand what's going on, but only getting little tidbits of everything. And then I think you brought up last week with the cult elements that we start getting toward the end with everyone in their black robes showing up. It feels like a little bit of a disconnect, but for me, it wasn't egregious to say, this is something that's so tonally wrong for me. But when we get into part 2 here, it really just feels like they wanted to say, oh no, we have enough content to get even more out of this franchise. And they kind of were trying to open up more doors, and it just didn't feel as authentic to me. It felt like I'm trying to watch part 2, but we're focusing on part 3 or part 4. That's like, oh yeah, we have more of the story that we can kind of continue, rather than just focusing on creating this eerie instance. That's what I love about the first one, where it's just like, I can be lost in that moment. I can be scared. Where this one, it felt like they were saying, okay, we have to have an adequate follow-up to the first one, but we also have to open up some more doors so we can create a third one. It just didn't feel as focused as I did on the first one.
Yeah, I think there's a really big shift I can tell in the fandom amongst people who are like really on board for the sequels and really in support, which I absolutely understand. Like I get it. Like a lot of people would say, oh, well, it's like, you're being nitpicky because, we obviously knew what we were getting into after the first film and the way it ended. But like, I think for me, what tends to be the real big like part that I have a hard time wrapping my head around when it comes to this film is when they start kind of introducing some of the they're like time bending elements where we're seeing clips and stuff from other people from before the disaster and everything. And we're trying to really kind of harken back. It really feels like they want to set their story back in that, like almost like they're, I guess, Back to the Future 2ing it in a sense, where it's like we're trying to get ourselves back towards, that first film as close as we can with these new characters. And I just have a harder time, I think, connecting with these characters too. I don't really like them nearly as much as our first group. They feel very disconnected from each other. Nobody necessarily feels like friends. So it's kind of just like, to me, I had a really hard time, I guess, finding my in route with this film.
I'm right there with you, where it's like the first one, it's not like amazing acting or anything like that, but I felt that the rapport between our actors were casual enough that I could feel like, okay, well, this feels like at least a little bit authentic, where again, I can focus on that first film and the scares, and it really does create this certain level of eeriness for me. Whereas the second one, I felt like all these characters just did not mesh. None of them hit with me. They felt more so annoying than anything. There's a delivery in here about a line about nachos from one of the characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is pretty bad, and I felt myself cringing a little more than regular, I think. So I think especially coming off such a positive viewing of the first one and then comparing it, that second one, that straight comparison, this one's not even the same ballpark for me. It just, again, I think we're opening up doors. One of the characters said they were sending stuff to another character that I don't even think, it feels like it wants us to ask those questions. Oh, wait, what's this other character? Are we going to see this other character? And again, we're focusing on another installment, which I'm assuming it might pop up in the third one. I don't know. I can't remember, but I guess I'll find that one out probably tonight. So it just didn't feel as authentic. It didn't feel as focused in terms of just being able to tell a scary story.
Yeah. So I think like now we'll kind of cross over into some spoiler stuff so that way we can kind of talk about how this one ends. Luke, since this was your first viewing, do you want to kind of guide us through your experience with that ending and kind of where you think things might be going just off of, you know, what we've talked about already and just kind of where the story has left you? I know you're not super impressed with where everything is right now, but like kind of going through the ending, was there a moment where you thought maybe we would kind of pick things up and kind of leave you wanting a little bit more?
Again, it just felt focused on creating more questions so that we get to that third installment. Let me pull up the one character that turns out to be the cult leader.
Tully.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I think if you're sitting there paying attention, you kind of really start piecing things together, especially once we get the call and it's like, oh, sorry, was he in an car accident or something? Like, oh, sorry, I can't make the whole thing. I think by then you already figure out what's going to be going down in the house. There's no secret there. And it's still almost an unveiling of like, you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh. And it's like, I think we all probably figured that out even before we got to the house. And, what they say, they're focused on the Abaddon either opening again or it never closed or whatever. So
yeah,
I'm assuming, because they mentioned that he's been sending something to another character that's going to bring more people to the Abaddon Hotel. And I don't know, are we going to have a retread of what we've been seeing in terms of this ghost story, or is this open up
I will
a
say
different avenue?
3 goes in a lot of bigger directions, and we definitely do spend some time I will say mentioning the Abaddon Hotel. There's a lot going on there, but I don't want to spoil too much. All I will say is that there is a particular character that's, I think for me, was the moment where when that guy gets introduced and that guy's like you understand fully what he's doing. I was like, oh boy, we've gone too far. We've gone way too far, which is why, again, I was very impressed with 4. Once we get to that one, I think we are on an upswing. So don't worry, we're heading in the right direction here. I just think like for me, and I can kind of dive into this a little bit this week, but I will be able to say my full piece on it next week when we do 3, is that this movie, again, it should never have tried to keep going with the Abaddon Hotel story. I know some people love that. They say it's the heart and soul of this. I agree. I think the Tully stuff and the Abaddon Hotel was great for that first film. But this should have been about different haunts. This should have been about different found footage, different people, coming in here and just kind of, getting exposed to demons or getting demons that maybe were at the Abaddon Hotel that kind of go to another, haunt in a way. I think that's what we should have stuck to instead of just trying to almost squeeze more and more out of this one character and this one setting and having to get so much bigger and broader with that story to try to justify it. So I don't know. I'll be able to finally give my full thoughts and piece on that once we talk about 3. But Luke, I am terribly sorry to hear that you had such a poor time with this one. And I have to admit, this one I liked a little bit more than 3. So that I hope
we're on the downslope for a little bit. Can I ask, are we still going to be at the Abaddon for 3, or is it too much of a spoiler if you mention that?
I just want to leave. I know I've said a lot of stuff, but I want to leave some of that blind for you. Okay. I think because there's a little bit of a change, but I don't want to say too much. But I can say with full certainty that 4 we completely abandon and go to a new spot, new haunt, all that. So
okay.
good stuff. So
something to look forward to.
yes. All right. Let's see. We got a couple things in here. Some people have popped up. Yeah, Stephanie, the black and white clowns. Yeah, the clowns are still good. I'll admit that. I like the clowns still.
Yeah,
The,
they'll still work.
the clown scares are good. I like just the atmosphere of the hotel, and then when they're running around in the dark still works for me. There's still a lot of that. Just all those like little dark crevices in places, especially I think it's when they're going up the steps, and you kind of get that room now that everything's shut down and like everything's kind of like fucked up and left after the incident. I think that adds a different atmosphere to the hotel. We get to see it in a little bit of a different light, that I think works for a little bit, but you know, it doesn't necessarily, I don't think it could carry the whole film personally. Let's see. What's up, Paula? Welcome. We got Russell in here. What's going on? How you doing? What's happening? And Russell actually donated $5. Thank you, Russell. Have you seen 100 Candles Game 2020? It's like a horror anthology movie. It has a sequel from 2023. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I will check that out. You said it's a game?
I think it's just called that, 100 Candles Game.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm assuming that's how I'm rating it. So it's just an anthology film.
The 100 Candles Game. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out then. I see it here.
I'll check it out.
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. So
I'll check it out this week. We can maybe, Dylan, if you have time, we can at least mention it next week.
Sure.
Just for a little mini review in addition to our Hell House 3.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I know that's a much shorter thing. I know there's not a whole lot to really dive into yet. I know we'll kind of, once we have some of the major pieces in 3 in play, I think we'll be able to kind of go back to this one, because you can really tell that like the first one was written as what it was, and you can really tell that these two were written together, because there is a lot of stuff that will kind of come back, and I don't say it does it great, but it, you know, they reference each other.
Questions.
So, yes, we get some answers. They're not great answers, but we get them. So they are there. But yeah, no, I gotta say this is a very love it or leave it kind of series for me. But I still love the first Hell House so much that I would still recommend this to people, because we are not the end all be all people. We try to say that as much as we can. Obviously, we are all going to disagree with each other on certain films, because that's the beauty of movies. So especially horror. And I think that, you know, even though I don't necessarily love 2 and 3 so much, I know when I watch the first one and I watch the fourth one, I tend to, you know, the same feeling I get when I'm watching like Halloween or something. I'm going to watch all of them. I'm going to watch the other sequels, you know, maybe not in the order that you're supposed to, but I'm going to get there. So at least that's where I sit with them. So
yeah, I mean, you know, I think Hell House can certainly hit for others that it didn't hit for me, but you know, hey, I'm excited to check out the rest of these, even though, you know, you say 3 is not the greatest, but I'll go on that journey, and I'm excited for 4 and what Lineage has to offer. I'm excited that one's kind of changing up the narrative and getting that kind of classic narrative rather than found footage. I think, you know, we talk about In a Violent Nature 2, and that maybe not going from the perspective of Johnny, which would probably be the smart play. I respect franchises that want to switch things up and continue a story in a different manner, just because, hey, that's going to service what story we need to tell. So I was excited when Lineage came out and said, you know, it's not going to be the typical narrative that we get, even though I think the first Hell House is so well done from that found footage mockumentary aspect of it. So I'm excited to see what it's going to offer. I think there's going to be a place, you know, in terms of getting lower, you know, low budget franchises like this. I'm excited to see what kind of quality we're going to get, for better or worse.
Of course. And so that one comes out on the 20th of this month. So our review should probably drop later this week for Lineage. I'd say would be the smart place. You'll probably get that. And then obviously we'll have 3 and then the following Sunday. So the week of release, we'll be covering the Carmichael. I always want to call it Carmichael Manor. I want to call it Carmony Manor because that's a YouTube thing that terrible guy. But yeah, no, we'll definitely be wrapping that up and moving into that. So Hell House 4 is Carmichael Manor. So yeah, sometimes I get Carmichael Manor and Lineage. I tend to throw those back and forth just because Lineage is so much easier to remember. because it's just a title that's been used on many films. So, but yeah, that's, I think, everything we got on the docket today, folks. Anybody got any last minute requests, comments, things they want to throw in? Let's see. I hope the fan base takes well to Lineage. It's well done. The narrative change works. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's ballsy for them to, especially for the last one, to not present it in the found footage style, to really step away from it. But I think if it serves the story, like Luke said, makes total sense. Let's go for it. Like I'm here for it. I think the Hell House series has deserved it. So.
Yeah, especially with same director and writer, I think. Is that correct for all the Hell
Yeah,
House?
all of them. Yeah, Stephen Cognetti's done all of them. So
and I think when you look at something like VHS, where you have different directors, different creatives coming in for each different segment, I think that kind of keeps that fresh, where you only get 15, 20 minutes to tell your story in a found footage aspect. Whereas I think doubling down and kind of continuing the story with the same writer director doesn't offer as much creative happiness, probably, where it's like, I have to do, it's another Hell House and these are my restrictions. So kind of being able to step outside that box and say, I am doing another Hell House film, but I'm approaching it in a completely different manner, being able to tell a bigger story or something that is able to get the scares, get the tension that you can't get with found footage because it doesn't feel organic. So that's what excites me about Lineage, to see how he's going to approach this one in terms of how different it's going to feel from these other 4 films.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even though like I don't love this one, I still like Stephen Cognetti a lot. I think he's got a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really fun stuff. He's obviously shepherded this franchise from it being just this low budget thing. He's very much in the same camp as like Damien Leone, where it's like these were deep cuts, like huge deep cuts for horror fans, so they made these movies for the fans of these movies. So I can't say that I don't respect the man for that, and definitely think that Lake of Fire aside, we still got some gas in this tank. So I'm excited for you guys to get into it. Hell House Origins, that's the way I should remember that one. Carmichael Manor. So I am exhausted, guys. I'm sorry. I got up way too early today. I should have slept in, let myself do, but we were so busy this weekend doing stuff. And then man, I got up at I think like 7 and then went back to sleep until 8 because I got up real early, went fishing with my son and my couple of my buddies. We've been doing that a lot recently. Just real nice, peaceful morning stuff, going out there, teaching the little guy how to do some fishing, respecting and catch and release and all that. So it's been good. It's been fun, but makes for some long days. Like I don't know if you can tell, the tank is running out here. So
yeah, you messaged me very early for you this morning. I was very surprised to see a message pop up. So I could tell you were up a little bit early, which was very.
And if you saw the messages from the night before when I updated you on what I was doing, I didn't go to bed very early either. Yeah. So yeah, actually, I know what I did. That's a lie, because that would have been at a relatively decent time, I think, when I texted you, but I tossed and turned until like 2 a.m. So just because I don't have a schedule anymore. Like it literally,
it's all randomness.
I run to whatever I need to get done for the channel. So like, it's like, if tonight's a late night, it's a late night. If tomorrow it's an early morning the next day, it's an early morning. I don't have any gauges. So probably should fix that. That would probably help me with a little bit of my quality. So yep. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up here. Thank you again to Russell, of course, for throwing us a little donation. We deeply appreciate it, sir. We will check out your film, as well as Erica up here with the $2. Always reminding people to subscribe, like the stream, just boosting us up in the algorithm, helping it out always as much lovely as you can. And again, great questions, guys. Like, honestly, this is amazing. I love every Sunday. I look forward to this, even if I'm exhausted or tired or, not feeling well. I always know that, like, even if I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, I don't know, I think I need to take a break tonight. I don't know if we should do it. As soon as this thing starts and we get a couple of messages and everybody starts chatting and bringing up new stories, and it just makes it all worth it. So thank you guys so much. We deeply appreciate it.
It's so fantastic. We had started doing Sunday Scaries when that channel had been created. It was just a recorded show, and Dale and I had talked about, it's like, oh, once we get so many subscribers, maybe we'll actually, be able to get a live show out of it. And then the time has come, and it's so mind blowing to see, Stephanie, Russell, Erica, glad that
Violet,
Laura
everybody,
enjoyed. Yeah,
Steven,
Violet,
everybody,
like,
all of you.
everyone, just to see names
Rory
pop up
Tiger.
every week, and to have a discussion and answer questions and be like, oh, what do you think about this? It's just, it's overwhelming sometimes. So it's thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday just to catch up on some horror news with us, because we all have the Sunday scaries going into Monday, and it's great to kind of be able to just recalibrate a little bit and lose yourself in some horror news and just great conversation. So thank you all for always coming and showing up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mama Mayhem. We appreciate it. Thank you guys. Yeah, you guys are honestly been so kind. And again, I opened the show talking about it. The reception, the love you guys have been showing on the videos recently, it is doing everything to really keep everything afloat for us. All the love on the Patreon too. I'm glad you guys are loving the content over there. And definitely I'm working this week with a couple of other creators to get some more exclusive stuff for you guys there. Some stuff that obviously with the welcome package deal still going on, I'm going to have that all these drop there first, and then we'll start to add different things to different tiers as we go up. And obviously the $3 tier, even if it gets renamed to like tier 1 or whatever we end up changing it to, all that content is still going to be grandfathered in there. Anybody who is a part of the welcome package tier is grandfathered into tier 1. So you guys don't have to worry about having to subscribe or resubscribe or, us upping the price of that one. So like, if that's all you can spare, if that's all you want to spare, that's literally means the world, and that's everything. So thank you. And I hope that we can keep making fun stuff for you guys there. Definitely more uncut videos, more disturbing lists, and more fun stuff on the horizon this week. You're going to get a list from myself. You're going to get a list from Luke. And I think for reviews wise too, we'll probably have Hell House. Do we have anything else? I know there's a couple that I really want to check out. One called Traumatic. I'll leave that in there for you guys. If you guys have not heard of Traumatic, look that up, because I've been meaning to talk to you about that. That looks freaky. That looks pretty intense.
Is that coming out this week?
It's coming out, I think, this month.
Okay,
but it's one of those ones where I had to. I keep forgetting to send it to you because we've gotten an email about it twice, and I'm like, oh man, I do want to cover this, so we gotta circle up on it. Oh yeah, see, Dean gets it. He knows. Yeah, Traumatic. It looks fucking, dare I say, traumatic. So it's like, it looks wild. Looks really sinister and dark. So I'm eager to see it. I think it looks like it could be a good one for the disturbing folks in chat here. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And of course, we talked about Dream Eater, Toxic Avenger. It's going to be a good month. And I can't wait to touch base with you guys again next week. And we'll have Adrian back. And I don't know. I know we're doing the Hell House thing, but maybe we can see if we can get a guest. I'll see if we can get somebody else to watch the movie. And that way we can kind of see if maybe I'll find somebody who's a bigger fan of the sequel films. So that way we can get a little bit of a diverse opinion, because I feel like we're just two Debbie Downers on this one.
Let's get that big clown, the black and white clown guy there. Maybe he can come on here. And,
he can sit there silently in the corner. So
perfect. Then I'll pop up in different sections of our backgrounds. I'm all for it.
Later, Gory, later, Russell. Thank you, Gracie. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap us up here. That is that. The Sunday Scaries has concluded. We hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Keep it right here on Splattercast. We got lots of fun stuff coming. Again, if you'd like to, we have links for all of our socials as well as the Patreon in the description. So feel free to take a look at that. And we will be back to you again. Next video should be Tuesday, I think. Tuesday or Wednesday. One of those two. So we will have that there. So, all right. Until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.